Hi, in the efforts of speed to market, I'm going to release our latest blog post as a video segment where I walk through the CPM changes we're tracking here at AdLibertas on the different platforms, iOS versus Android, to kind of show you the impact of iOS 14.5 and how that's changing the advertising market for our publishers. So what we have here, what we'll be looking through today is indexed CPMs of different platforms by ad unit type. So the first one here we have here is the United States banners, where the blue is Android, and you can see that right below me here. And then the green is iOS. And you can see iOS took a little bit of a dip in the week at the beginning of May here, and then flat a little bit down throughout the year, since May, whereas Android, represented in blue, has really spiked over the last few weeks. And we see a huge amount of spend and rates increasing towards Android. Part of that is driven by Amazon. Amazon has their Prime Day. We just ended yesterday, so we saw a big spike in terms of revenue on Android. CPMs on both Android and iOS, but revenue specifically on Android saw a big jump. But that's not the only reason. We saw a bunch of other advertisers also increase their spend on Android. So for the first time in the history of mobile advertising, as long as I've been around, which is as long as the smartphone's been around, we're seeing Android CPMs in the US far outstrip iOS, which is super interesting. If you look outside the US, you'll see that the index CPMs for Android have met iOS, which is pretty interesting as well, which means it's not just relegated to the US. But interestingly, the full screen ads, and this one is US full screen ads, is pretty flat. Now there's a big spread here. Again, these are index CPMs, so not the actual CPMs. There's a pretty big spread between them, and they're largely flat. We see the same both in the US and then not in the US, where the iOS banners are relatively flat. Different story on reward video. So reward video in the US, iOS is kind of dramatic and flat, but over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a big spike on Android, driven largely by Facebook. Interesting. So Facebook is getting behind the reward video buys and really driving up rates. We see the same thing to a lesser extent outside the US. Now, I talked a little bit about this on our last blog post, which is what does this mean to LTVs of the users as we see being acquired during this time frame. So I have an anonymous app which is spread around the world, both iOS and Android, and I'm using this as an analogy, or an anecdote rather, of what it looks like for user value. So what we're looking at here is the user values of users acquired in March, April, May, and June on iOS. And you can see that as the CPMs start to fall, the LTV of the users from blue, gray to red to cyan or green are falling. And the LTV is dramatically lower on the June timeframe. In fact, I want to do a forecast on this to see what that's going to look like over time. So let me take a power curve, which matches pretty well. Let me get rid of the first couple of days because there's a skew there. Okay, so the 90-day 90-day LTV estimate using a power regression curve on users acquired in March is $1.10, or just under $1.10. Let's see what that looks like for users acquired in June. 56 cents, so half. Could be very impactful to users if you've got budgets running or to your long-term budgeting. So keep an eye on that. Conversely, let's take a look at Android. So Android here is the exact opposite, as you would expect from the CPMs. So the LTV of users acquired in June in green on top is significantly higher than the red May and gray April. So if we want to do an extension on June, let's take a look. We can use the same mathematical regression, which is move it to June, take the power regression model. We will exclude the first 14 days, and in 90 days out, we've got 18 cents. We've got over here in this tab, the April users, 7 cents. So we're almost up 3x. So just a little bit higher than 2.5 times the LTV in 90 days, which means there's a significant opportunity to make up where iOS has fallen. Hope you've enjoyed this. Reach out if you have any specific questions. I'll try to keep you guys updated if you do enjoy this type of update.